はじめまして、南と申します。
Korean films are known for their bold and profound critiques of society, and this one is no exception. This large-scale movie, which reveals the decadent lives of South Korea's elite, explores how their insatiable desires for wealth and power are concealed behind a glamorous facade of moral decay and absurdity. What's shocking is how the so-called high society indulges in acts so debased, all laid bare for the world to see on the big screen. And here's the kicker, the movie features a special appearance by a goddess-like figure, the one every fanboy dreams of, making it a visual and emotional feast that will leave you speechless. A friendly tip for those under 30: make sure to watch this one with your girlfriend. Taejun and Sooyeon, a middle-class married couple, are elites in their own right but feel dissatisfied with their lives. They dream of joining the so-called upper class and are constantly chasing that elusive goal. Recently, the surge in rental prices across Korea has put many small businesses in financial distress, and Taejun, an economics professor, becomes a public figure after making a bold suggestion on a live talk show. He proposes that the government create a low-interest citizens' bank to help small merchants. His idea wins over the public, earning him their admiration and respect. To show his commitment, Taejun personally joins a protest, serving tea and offering moral support to the merchants. However, things take a turn when a 70-year-old man, driven to despair by high interest rates, attempts an extreme act of protest. While the crowd recoils in fear, Taejun charges forward, risking his own safety to rescue the elderly man. This heroic act is captured by reporters, and he quickly becomes a national hero. His newfound fame catches the attention of a political leader from the National People's Party, who invites him to join their ranks, offering his full support for Taejun's Citizen Bank project and proposing he run for office in the upcoming local elections.
저 기회 주신다면 열심히 한번 해보겠습니다.
Taejun, eager to break into politics, doesn't hesitate to accept the offer. However, what he doesn't realize is that while it seems like he's about to join the upper crust, he has unknowingly become a pawn controlled by the powerful conglomerates behind the scenes. As Taejun begins his public campaign, holding rallies and playing up his people-friendly persona in front of the cameras, he goes as far as to shamelessly visit the hospital to comfort the elderly man he previously saved, all in a bid to show just how much he cares for the common people.
어르신, 교수님께 뭐라고 하신 것 같은데 무슨 말씀이셨나요? 감사하다고. 예, 시민은행이 꼭 성공해야 된다고 그렇게 말씀하셨습니다. 예.
His ability to fake it till he makes it only grows his popularity, attracting more and more sponsors. Meanwhile, his wife, Sooyeon, is also eager to climb the social ladder. While overjoyed by her husband's sudden rise, she feels stuck in the art world due to her lack of power and influence. Desperate to secure the position of museum director in the upcoming election, she approaches the powerful Chairman Han, trying to prove her worth. However, her attempts are largely in vain, and after the chairman's wife finds out, she makes things even more difficult for her.
진짜 그럴듯한 작가 못 찾아오면 이번이 자기 마지막 전시가 되는 거야.
In a last-ditch effort to break into the elite, Sooyeon reaches out to her ex-boyfriend, hoping his reputation in the art world can help her organize her own art exhibition. On the other side, Taejun, now filled with confidence after securing a 30 billion won sponsorship from an investor, dives deeper into his political campaign. His confidence skyrockets, and he feels even more self-assured in his personal charm.
너 나 좋아하니?
Faced with the seductive gaze from his smooth-talking secretary, only a fool would turn down such an offer. But things don't stop there. Sooyeon, too, refuses to back down. To get her ex-boyfriend's help, she throws herself at him, and even manages to grab the opportunity to represent the museum at an art exhibition in France. Sooyeon, eager to go to France with him, drapes a bright green hat of shame over Taejun's head. She bought worthless paintings for Chairman Han to launder money, and then, upon returning to Korea with her ex-boyfriend, they were arrested by the prosecution on charges of violating foreign exchange laws. Taejun, who's been spending countless hours with his secretary, rushes to the prosecution office when he hears that his wife has been arrested, hoping to find out what happened, but what he learns next leaves him stunned. It turns out that his party, the Min-guk Party, has a deeply rooted connection with Chairman Han, and the sponsorship funds he's been receiving might actually have come from his wife's involvement in laundering money for the chairman through her work at the art museum. Just as Taejun is struggling to figure out how to explain this to his wife, the prosecutor drops another bombshell.
공천 받으신 게 혼자 힘으로 다 됐을 거라고 생각하세요?
Although Tae-jun is initially unfazed, he uses his influence as a candidate to get his wife out of jail. However, just a few days later, one of his sponsors, a CEO who had been providing him with constant funding, angrily informs him that their small business can no longer afford to support him financially. Realizing something's off, Tae-jun starts investigating and discovers that the so-called young investor who's been backing him isn't actually a fellow alumnus from his university, and his business is tied to shady industries. Feeling like he's been duped, Tae-jun storms off to confront Congressman On, but before he can ask any questions, he's harshly rebuked. Things only get worse. The man who's been secretly in love with Tae-jun's secretary finds out about their close relationship and spills the beans to Soo-yeon. But here's the kicker: Soo-yeon, unaware that the private videos she and her ex-boyfriend shot in France have already been discovered by Mayor Min, decides to confront Tae-jun's secretary in his office, warning her in no uncertain terms. Then, in an incredibly shameless move, Soo-yeon calmly tells Tae-jun that she doesn't want his disgraceful behavior to ruin her chances of entering high society.
바람 핀 게 미안해? 착각하지 마. 나 상관 안 해.
야, 너
근데 다른 사람한테 걸리진 말라고.
The irony? She's the one who's been acting guilty all along, yet it's her who's throwing the first stone. What truly defies your imagination is that Chairman Han, who has been struggling to spark his artistic inspiration every day, finally welcomes the goddess he's invited from Japan with a heavy price tag. After a painstaking hour and a half of work, aided by the translator, he's just about to take a break when he receives the shocking news that one of his sponsors has pulled out. Distracted from his creative flow, he orders his men to seize the sponsor, giving no room for negotiation and ruthlessly beating him half to death right on the spot, no mercy whatsoever. Meanwhile, Tae-jun, who's already stressed about the sponsor's withdrawal, visits the hospital to check on the elderly man who had been injured. There, he learns a shocking truth.
다 해결된 거지.
대포집이요. 그게 무슨...
It turns out that the poor old man had only taken extreme measures to try to get his rent waived, having been coerced by them, but, after the deed was done, they refused to honor their promise. In his rage and guilt, Tae-jun confronts Congressman On, only to be hit with an even more appalling revelation. The investor who had been backing him suddenly drops his mask, revealing his true intentions. The once complimentary tone is now gone, and he openly threatens Tae-jun if he continues to comply. Pushing him into a future as a congressman would be a piece of cake for them. At this moment, Tae-jun's sense of reality shatters. His noble aspirations of entering politics, fueled by passion, have reduced him to a puppet, being manipulated by the very people he thought he was aligning with to further their own filthy desires. On the other side, Tae-jun's wife, Soo-yeon, is not faring any better. She's just returned to her office, devastated after failing to secure the position she'd long coveted as the museum director. When she learns that her private videos have fallen into the hands of Mayor Min, helpless, Soo-yeon rushes to Mayor Min's office, kneels, and begs for the videos back, only to be met with cold mockery.
잘 들어, 우수연. 재벌들만 겁 없이 사는 거야. 당신은 그러면 안 돼, 겁내야지.
But even in the face of this, Soo-yeon refuses to give up on her only chance to break into high society. Determined to win over Chairman Han, she dresses in a sexy outfit and rushes to his luxurious mansion. After securing his promise to help her get the museum director position, she prepares to offer him her artistic inspiration in the most intimate of ways. But just as she's about to begin, the sudden arrival of the chairman's wife completely ruins the mood.
관련
It couldn't have come at a worse time, just when things were getting interesting. What Soo-yeon never expected was that all of this was orchestrated by the ruthless Chairman Han's wife, who, despite her cold and indifferent relationship with him, was determined to fight for control over the family fortune, while secretly conspiring with Soo-yeon to set a trap. She never imagined that the schemes of these people would be far more sinister than she could have ever anticipated. Just as she believed she was about to secure the long-awaited position as the museum director, brimming with joy and ready to sign the contract, she discovered that the name of Chairman Han's son was also listed on it.
제이슨도 관장이고 공동관장.
Even more shocking was the fact that her forced recommendation of Mayor Min as the deputy director had already been discovered by the shrewd, calculating wife of the tycoon. Not only did she have Soo-yeon's private videos, but she had also teamed up with Chairman Han to use them as leverage against her. In that moment, Soo-yeon finally realized how terrifying these people were. Despite their fierce battles for the family fortune, there was one thing that remained unshakable. No matter how much she struggled or flattered them, as an ordinary person, she would never earn their true trust. Even if she somehow became the museum director and entered what she thought was high society, she would merely be a pawn in their grand game, with no other options left. Soo-yeon, facing their threats, tearfully signed the contract. Meanwhile, when Tae-jun learned that the elderly man's death from a heart attack was actually part of the investors' plan to eliminate obstacles for him, his conscience pushed him to fight back. Determined to expose their dirty deeds, he publicly announced at a press conference that he would halt the plan to establish the Citizens Bank. That night, he met with his secretary, asking for help in uncovering the corruption.
국회의원 정말 하고 싶은데 그래도 사람을 죽이는 놈들이랑은 나 손잡고 일 못해.
제가 뭘 할 수 있죠?
With the secretary's help, Tae-jun finally obtained the secret ledger and understood everything. The true mastermind behind everything was none other than Chairman Han, who had been pushing him to open the bank in order to siphon off the country and its people's hard-earned money. Tae-jun knew that although this ledger could bring down these people, it would also implicate him. After a night of reflection, he decided to use it as leverage to demand 30 billion won from Chairman Han. But as Tae-jun became more uncontrollable, Chairman Han remained calm and called Soo-yeon, who had the compromising evidence. When Tae-jun's persuasion failed, Soo-yeon reluctantly admitted to the scandal that had gotten her caught. Tae-jun's head spun in shock as he realized the full extent of the web they had woven around him, but before he could process his anger, he found Soo-yeon collapsed in a pool of blood. In the hospital, Tae-jun discovered that his wife had endured excruciating pain from a serious uterine condition in order to bear his child. Refusing surgery, moved by guilt and pain, he chose to forgive her, despite the mistakes they had both made.
못 본 걸로 할게. 우리라도 잘 살자.
Meanwhile, as Chairman Han and the South representative of the Democratic Party believed Tae-jun would return to their control, they were unaware that the couple had already plotted their counterattack. At the art exhibition hosted by the museum, with dignitaries from all walks of life in attendance, Soo-yeon bravely took the stage. On the big screen, her private videos were shown, and she publicly confessed to all the mistakes she had made in her desperate attempt to join high society, as well as the threats she had suffered. As Chairman Han, unable to control the situation, scrambled to cover his tracks, he reluctantly paid Tae-jun the 30 billion won, allowing him to open the Citizens Bank for his noble cause. But to everyone's surprise, Tae-jun, who had no interest in keeping promises with these people, chose the right path. He handed over part of the secret ledger to the prosecutors investigating them, exposing their corruption to the public. Although Chairman Han would not face full punishment for his crimes, Tae-jun managed to bring him down, and the man was sentenced for his violent actions and attempted murder. In the film's final scene, when Chairman Han was taken away in handcuffs, the goddess who had come to interview him couldn't help but laugh when asked about his artistic inspiration.
アートはクソだ。
Here's a summary of the classic Korean film High Society. You should definitely check out the original, it's an unforgettable ride.